Hello and welcome. I'm happy to have you back for a new creative recipe and tutorial. Today we are going to make walnut ink with walnut skins. I will guide you through the whole process of making the ink in order to paint a lovely winter-inspired wreath with it. I'm Adeline-Julie from the Pigeon Letters design team and I can't wait to show you this, so I'll meet you in my studio in a minute. To make the walnut ink, you will need a pot. I took the mortar, but we are not really going to use it as a mortar. Glass containers, a coffee filter holder and a coffee filter, spoons, a grinder, but this is optional, gum arabic powder, clove essential oil, and of course walnuts. Scissors, and you will also need a knife. Start by cutting the skin in two with the knife and then cut it with the scissors more finely. You need to collect about 5 to 7 walnuts for this recipe. While I'm showing you the process of cutting the skins, which is quite simple, let's talk a bit about walnuts. Walnut grows easily in regions with a temperate climate. Every year, I harvest its fruits covered with a green bark called brou in French, which means walnut skin. It's the skin that gives the color. There are a lot of tannins in the walnut skins. They are green when they are still on the tree, and then when picked or dropped from the tree, it darkens to dark brown. Here is how I proceeded to dry the whole walnuts. I put them on a plate in a dry place outside for about 2-3 weeks. Normally, the nuts are harvested from mid-September until the end of October, depending on weather conditions. Once you've cut enough skins, grind the pieces into the grinder. If you don't have a grinder, that's okay. You can finely chop the walnut skins and proceed the same way as if you had a grinder. Cutting finely or into very small pieces will allow better harvesting of the ink because more parts are exposed to the water and the decoction than if you had just cut the skin in half. Put the powder in the mortar. Now I'm showing you how to proceed if you don't have a grinder. Just cut the skins into thin strips. Take a glass container and put the walnut powder in it. Put water on the peeling and leave to macerate. In both cases, you take a glass container in which you put what you have grounded or cut and add water. If you want a more intense tone, you put little water, and of course, for a clearer tone, you can add more water. Do the same if you have cut in small pieces the skins without the grinder. Now we have our 2 preparations. Wait at least 2 hours before straining your juice through a coffee filter. I did wait for 24 hours before passing the juice. Once it has macerated long enough and you find the color intense enough, strain it through a coffee filter. Of course, if you want to test the intensity of the color, dip a brush and do a test on paper. Wait until all the juice has passed through the filter. Do the same with the preparation that has not gone through the grinder but has been cut into small pieces. Don't forget to add clove essential oil. By adding 2 drops of clove essential oil, you will prevent mold. Okay, now a bonus tip. You can add a bit of gum arabic. Don't add too much. If you put 3 teaspoons of ink, put half teaspoon of gum arabic powder. Once you have mixed your ink with gum arabic, label correctly what you have in your containers. For example, I have the grinded mix, the chunks mix, and the gum arabic mix. Here are the supplies for painting the wreath. A4 watercolor paper, a pencil, the chunks mix, the gum arabic mix, and the powder mix. A jar of water, the paintbrush from the pigeon letters. During the tutorial, I will tell you exactly which one I'm using. And the botanical line drawing book on page 203 and paper towel. Start by drawing a freehand circle in the center of your sheet. The circle does not have to be perfect. We draw it to have a mark to go and put the leaves and the elements of our wreath. Take the round brush number 12 and dip it into your ink. I dip first in the preparation with gum arabic. Start painting leaves around the circle. The round brush helps us to make the shape of the leaf. Use the tip of the brush and by extending the leaf, give a very small pressure on the brush. This way, you allow the bristle of the brush to flatten into the desired shape. Try to make them identical. Don't hesitate to turn in your paper. Remember to space the leaves more or less evenly around the wreath. But remember that in nature, nothing is perfect. As this quote from Alice Walker says so well, in nature, nothing is perfect and everything is perfect. Trees can be contorted, bent in weird ways, and they are still beautiful. To space out the leaves, take a step back and look at where you are going to lay your brush for the next leaf. Do that every time you paint a new leaf. By using the gum arabic preparation, I see that it's shiny and the color is slightly enhanced. This shiny side is given by the acacia resin, which acts as a gelling agent. Remember, I added gum arabic powder in this preparation. Take the round brush number 6 and start painting leaves smaller than the previous ones. Take a second to think about where you are going to place your leaves. I decided to put the inner leaves of the wreath alternately alongside. You can also put them in front of the previous ones you've just painted, as in the step-by-step Peggy offers in her book. You choose what you prefer. As the brush is smaller, so is the leaf. Draw your leaves and use the tip of the brush and draw the shape of a simple small round leaf. If you give a curved shape or a wave, great too. So you see, I just drew the leaf with the tip of the brush. I didn't put any pressure on the brush because if I press too much, my leaf will be wider, bigger, and that's not what I want. Apply the round brush number 2 and start painting round shapes for winter berries. I place the berries in front of the small leaves drawn earlier. When painting the berries, try to leave a circle in the center of the berry that does not contain ink. This allows you to have a feeling of depth because you create a 3D effect by doing this. Paint a circle, then increase the circle and make a round shape like a little ball. Then around it, increase the round and the circle. You can also remove ink if you want to give that hollow effect. You can vary the sizes of the berries and touch up here and there the already painted berries. Take the liner 20-0, apply it with ink and go over the pencil line of your circle and paint it or cover it with ink. The reason I haven't gone over the circle with my ink yet is because now, having already painted elements, I'm only going to go over paint where I haven't covered the pencil line with my leaves or the berries. Then add 4 curly stems around it. It doesn't matter if you don't have exactly the same curve shape, it's even better. It allows dynamics like in nature. I keep going to cover the pencil marks with the ink. I space out the curly twigs and try to arrange the 4 twigs face to face inside the wreath. They are more or less evenly spaced around the circle. Then take the round brush number 30 and add tiny leaves on the 4 curly stems. Once you've painted a few mini leaves, you can totally use the wet on wet technique to add ink and depth into your leaves. See, like this. If you want, add more leaves in the inner circle and take the round brush number 4 and paint here and there small leaves to fill the composition around the wreath. Take the liner number 0 and trace twigs by drawing stems that go outward from the wreath. Arrange them on the first painted leaves, those on the outer circle. Do not put pressure on the brush so as not to flatten it. Just draw a slightly curved line outward from your circle, but draw them from the outside inwards or towards the wreath. Try to space them evenly to give a rhythm to your composition. Take next the round brush number 2 and add little dots for berries, mini berries. Put one on the top of the twig and then go down by placing one on the left of the twig and the third one on the right. Do that for every curved twigs you've just drawn. To add thickness and volume to the wreath by adding larger leaves, take the round brush number 16 and where you find it's a good option, add leaves. Here I'm adding one on the outside of the wreath because I think I need to. But mainly I'm going to add leaves inside of the circle. If you have splatters or small drops coming from the brush, take the tip of your paper towel and dab gently to absorb the small drops of ink. Then try not to get too much ink in your brush and try not to make too sudden movement with the brush so as not to send out drops when you remove the brush from the paper. The brush number 16 allows us to magnify the vegetation around the wreath because it's a large brush and that we work on an A4 format page. It is not a problem if you pass on the elements painted previously. On the contrary, it will give thickness and multiple layers to your wreath. Looking at the composition, I add 3 leaves outwards to balance it all out. This also allows the viewer's eyes to circulate well around the circle and also to balance the composition. To add shadow to the berries, take the round brush number 2 and choose to ink the lower part of the berries to add an ombre effect. Choose a spot on the berry where you will add the ink and do this for all of the berries of the wreath. By going over with your ink at this exact spot, you will give depth to the drawing, volume to the berries, and a more elaborate effect on your composition. You will also increase the color intensity, and this will give anchor points to capture the attention of the person who will look at your painting. These anchor points are very important because they will allow the viewer's eyes to bounce from one to another and energize your composition as the viewer scans your painting. Feel free to redesign some leaves to avoid too much granulation. Granulation occurs when pigments clump together in one place, resulting in concentrations of pigments that look like something cluttered. That's it. Well done. Look at your beautiful wreath. Once you've tried this tutorial, you can tag me at Adeline-Julie and you can tag Peggy at the pigeon letters so we can share your paintings and your lovely natural colors. I was so happy to share this moment with you and to take you into the magic world of painting with natural colors. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll meet you next time on the Pigeon Letters blog for more creative ideas and tutorials. Until then, cheerio friends!